Released by Square Enix in 2007 on the Nintendo DS and later ported to mobile devices and the Nintendo Switch, The World Ends With You, also titled It's a Wonderful World, would be an action RPG taking place in modern-day Shibuya. Directed by Tatsuya Kondo and written by Sachi Hirano, the game would receive an enhanced version called Final Remix, changing the game's controls and battles, as well as adding a new epilogue tying it to a sequel. Her story, the game features an asocial teenager named Neku, though he is joined in his journey with 4 other players in the game, Shiki, Beat, Rhyme, and Joshua. For gameplay, players explore small environments, shop for clothes, eat food, and engage in wandering battles. Battles are side-scrolling brawlers where characters move around a 2D arena chaining attacks until the area is clear, with special abilities represented by a variety of equipable pins. The original release utilized dual screens, wherein a character would be controlled with the directional pad and the second character would be controlled with the bottom touchscreen. The revised edition is one larger and wider screen, and a partner assists Neku as a summon that he can combo with. The game also features a New Game Plus, multiple collectibles, a prominent minigame named Tin Pin Slammer, and a mostly unrelated side story called Another Day. The story only gets larger from here, so let's cut it down to size with a recapitation. As the game begins, we see a teenager named Neku work his way through the streets of Tokyo's shopping district, Shibuya. Annoyed at the noisy crowd around him, Neku has no patience for the company and value of others, taking solace in putting on his headphones to quiet the world around him. The next thing he knows, Neku wakes up on the ground in the middle of the crosswalk. He finds a strange pin tucked within his grasp and is soon shocked by the sensory overload of hearing dozens of voices at once in his head. He's not sure what just happened, but focusing, he finds he can hear the surface thoughts of those around him. He's interrupted by his phone, reading a message from an unknown sender, telling him he has 60 minutes to reach the 10-4 building or else he'll be erased by the Reapers. He thinks it to be an unfunny joke, but is stung by a pain in his hand as a 60-minute timer appears and begins counting down. Looking up, he sees the giant screen above the Outback Cafe ominously tell him he has 7 days, as strange symbols suddenly converge. From the dark graffiti, stylized giant frogs emerge and immediately begin to attack him. Forced to run, he calls out to help but finds the crowd somehow do not react, as to the side, a pair of individuals prepare to get to work, commenting on the chance to rack up points from the Day 1 players. As he flees, Neku sees more dark symbols appear and take people away, but just as he begins to lose hope, a girl spots him and quickly demands he forge a pact with her so they can beat the noise together. Confused, he accepts anyway, and she also hands him a pin that grants him the power to cast fire. Defeating the enemy, the girl is impressed by his aptitude with abilities called Psychs and tells him the enemies, called Noise, won't come after them now that they've formed a pact. She introduces herself as Shiki and tells him they're now players in the week-long event called the Reaper's Game. Neku is still skeptical at the situation, but she reminds him they'll be erased like the other victims if they don't stick together and win the game, pointing out he has a player pin and timer on his hand just like her. Seeing they only have 20 minutes left, Neku notes they are being watched by a man in a red hoodie, but hurry to arrive in time as the timer disappears from their hands. From the side, they are mocked by a voice calling themselves a Reaper who wishes to see them fail, and after beating a tougher battle, they suddenly find themselves in another part of Shibuya with a new mission assigned to them and another hour deadline. Neku notices it's already the next day, and Shiki suggests they may have fallen asleep after the last mission. Neku's asocial attitude to Shiki disrupts her attempts to communicate and solve the riddle to the mission, and Neku finds he cannot read the mind of another man in red observing them. The man notices and simply tells him to remove all noise in the area in order to progress, and the world is more than just what they see. Using his scanning ability to reveal the hidden threats, Neku leads the way forward, as the man also explains their pact is the only reason they can hurt the noise, and so they need to stick together. Shiki is also impressed Neku could not only use all of the pins he was allotted, but notices he has 2 player pins for some reason. Impatient with her, Neku moves on, as they soon run into another pair of players, an overeager boy named Beat and his partner Rhyme. As Shiki talks to them, Rhyme shares they never made it to the 10-4 building, yet were not erased by the Reapers. She wonders if it's because their timers vanished before the time ran out, and perhaps by Neku and Shiki making it, it saved them too somehow. Neku once again is hostile to the idea of working together with anyone, least of all Shiki, and offended at Neku's rudeness, Beat takes Rhyme and leaves. As Neku and Shiki complete their daily missions, Neku refuses to acknowledge Shiki's contributions to their success, but they are interrupted by the Reaper that spoke to them yesterday, finally revealing herself. She tricks Neku into killing Shiki for a way out of the game, and Neku takes the deal. He uses his powers to choke the life out of Shiki, but they are interrupted by a man who calls out the Reaper for breaking the rules with her method of sabotage. The Reaper finds the man strangely knowledgeable of the rules and admits it was a trick to kill both of them. She leaves, and Shiki thanks the man for saving their lives as he introduces himself as Hanakoma and claims to be a sort of guardian. His job is to make sure the rules of the game are followed, and jabs at Neku for being foolish enough to be tricked so easily, almost killing Shiki and thinking he can do everything himself. He forces an apology out of a reluctant Neku and reminds them trusting each other is the only way they'll make it out of the game alive, and that starts with open and honest communication. Neku replies that he barely understands himself, as he has lost all of his memories except for his name. Hanakoma also explains a few more things, such as each day a mission must be completed by a player, and it could be any of the player teams. They are still encouraged to do their best as each player is being graded by the Reapers for performance and will earn points that will result in something on the 7th day. It is part of a Reaper's duty to facilitate the game, but also test players, such as the men in red hoodies and the woman that's been following them. The Wall Reapers do not attack the players and just create barriers with conditions to clear them, while the Harrier Reapers actively hunt players for a living. In truth, they are also out to earn points from erasing players, else they too be erased. He also brings up he runs a cafe on the side, and this isn't the Shibuya they know, but an alternate one called the Underground. The Underground Shibuya is used for the Reaper game, while the Shibuya they come from is called the Real Ground one, but they both exist in the same space. Normal people will not see or hear them no matter what, and only those involved in the game like players or Reapers can. To even participate in the game, players pay an entry fee of the thing they value most, and if they win, they get their prize and their entry fee back. But if they fail, they lose everything, including their life. The Underground is run by a supervisor called the Composer, and before leaving teaches them how to sync up for powerful combination moves. The next day, when Shiki drops her phone, Neku catches the wallpaper as a picture of Shiki with her friend from school, but they soon get their mission within the concert venue A East, encountering the musician 777. Dispelling a negative noise possessing his concert technician, they find it has an immediate effect on his mood and mentality. They come across Beat and Rhyme explains to Shiki what memes are, in so much that they are words with power that you can send into the heads of others with imprinting. Using memes, they solve the problems plaguing the concert area, drawing out a large bat noise they work together to defeat. Unfortunately, Neku and Shiki defeat the wrong one, and just before the timer runs out, Beat and Rhyme defeat the correct noise in time to score a win for all of the players. Shiki is glad to see the teamwork and suggests they all team up, to which even Neku reluctantly agrees to. The next day, a woman named Konishi speaks to a man named Sho, as the man running the meeting, Kitaniji, introduces this session's game master, Higashizawa, a hungry reaper with exceptional performance. With over half of the players erased already, Kitaniji orders Higashizawa to make sure no players survive. Meanwhile, the group now wakes up with a new mission to reach Toa Records, but with no time limit. Shiki notices Rhyme's limited edition pendant, and she explains it was a gift from her older brother, commenting on Shiki's eye for fashion. Shiki reveals her dream is to become a fashion designer, and Rhyme wishes she could also have a dream to be passionate about. She admits she admires Beat in the same way, as he dreams of being a professional skateboarder and hopes she too will find a dream of her own. With such a relaxed objective, Shiki and Neku take time to shop around 10-4, and Shiki teaches Neku the merits of staying fashionable and shows off she actually made the clothes she's wearing, including the cat plushie she carries around by herself, which actually impresses Neku. She also mentions she only just made them, while her friend Eri is the one who designed them. Catching up to Beat and Rhyme to complete the mission, Rhyme suddenly spots a noise about to ambush Beat and pushes him out of the way, which echoes a time he once pushed her from an incoming car, and Rhyme is suddenly erased by a giant shark, leaving only her pendant behind. Two Reapers now come out, the woman named Uzuki from before, and a man named Koki taking credit for the attack. Beat is outraged, but Koki points out they knew Reapers were hunting them and they were the ones who dropped their guards, so it's their own fault. Koki then reveals they can make new noise by binding some soul to a pin, as directly attacking a player is against the rules, and they leave, content with their work. Beat tries to fight, but Hanakoma now steps in, pointing out he's powerless without a partner, and only has 7 minutes to live since Rhyme was erased, though there is a way to survive. Grief-stricken, Beat agrees to live for the sake of avenging Rhyme, and Neku again repeats friends are just burdens that exist to hurt you. He adds that he never considered any of them friends, and has no choice but to use them to survive. The next day, they wake up with a mission to clear Spain Hill of noise, and find that the noise this time are concentrated between the negative emotions brought about by an argument between friends. Resolving the possession and the dispute with memes, their mission is cleared, and waiting for them is Higashizawa, recognizing their strength and wishing to test them further. He says he came here to meet Shiki specifically to take a closer look at the jealousy filling her heart, and she doesn't deny it, trying to cut him off when he's about to reveal her entry fee. He adds that even if she were restored to life, her self-hatred and jealousy of others would still remain. Neku wonders what he meant by restored to life, and Higashizawa spells out that Neku is dead like all of the other players, and the Reaper's game is a test for a second chance at life. Seeing enough, he takes his leave as Neku is still shocked by the revelation. The next day, Neku wakes up to find a new player pin in his grasp, only this one is red and doesn't seem to do anything. He reflects on the situation before getting their mission that comes with a riddle and notes how distant and quiet Shiki seems today. They figure out their mission is to help a salaryman named Makoto's commercial gain the most viewership, which happens to be for the red pin Neku received. Helping Makoto with his troubled marketing, Neku sees Shiki is still bothered by yesterday and decides to talk to her about it. She's lost her motivation when hearing nothing will change even if she regains her life, as she wanted to be pretty and smart like her friend Eri. Neku suddenly spots a girl that looks exactly like Shiki in the crowd, and it turns out this girl is Eri. Flustered, Shiki confesses that her entry fee was her appearance, and arrived in the underground looking exactly like Eri, and was pleased with the new her. Neku's confused, as the Reapers take what is the most valuable to you, yet Shiki hated the way she looked, and Shiki explains that even with her friend's looks, she was still jealous and miserable inside, realizing that what she actually valued most was herself. In her selfishness, she didn't really want Eri's looks, intelligence, and popularity. She just wanted those things for herself, and not having those things despite her figure change hurt her all the more. Neku finds he can relate to her case of not understanding herself, and Shiki adds that she is actually scared to get a second chance now since her internal jealousy will still be there. Neku finds himself saying aloud that he likes her just the way she is, and asks her to focus on helping him finish the mission for now. By wearing Makoto's pin in battles with noise and changing the hearts of the people around them in the underground, they change the minds and set the trends of Shibuya in real life. As the commercial plays to great success, Shiki spots and approaches the real Eri, hearing that she actually thought very highly of Shiki and feels uninspired without her ever since Shiki died in an accident recently. As it turns out, Eri trusted only Shiki's textile skills to implement them, improve her designs, and even make her own stuffed animals, and was actually envious of her sharp eyes, skilled hands, and self-motivation. She regretted telling her she wasn't meant to be a designer, wanting to compliment her ability as a seamstress, but felt she ended up offending her best friend. Seeing it was all a big misunderstanding, a smile returns to Shiki, declaring she's determined to earn her second chance at life, while at the same time, Higashizawa reports to Kitaniji that only 3 players remain and will personally handle them soon. As the 7th day finally arrives, their mission is simply to defeat the Game Master himself, and they soon get a call from Hanakoma. He tells them Beat left his cafe for some reason, and on this final day, the Game Master is allowed to directly attack players. Meanwhile, Beat tracks down Koki and Uzuki, who are surprised to see he hasn't disappeared on his own already, as he demands to know how they bind souls to pins. With Neku and Shiki, they prepare for the final battle, for better and worse, and make a promise to meet up together in real life when they win the game. They approach Higashizawa, who was waiting for them as well, and he's disappointed to see the jealousy in Shiki's heart is all gone. Turning into a giant ravenous noise, he takes on the duo, whose trust and teamwork manage to overtake him. Celebrating their victory, Shiki notices Neku called her by her first name for the first time all week, and smiling, he admits he looks forward to their next date. The next thing they know, they're in a bright area and are surprised to be met by Beat, but also by Kitaniji. He congratulates them on their victory and introduces himself as the conductor, servant to the composer. However, he informs them that per the mandate of the composer, only one person will be restored back to life. Shiki protests, but Beat declares he wasn't planning on going back anyway, instead asking to become a Reaper. Kitaniji permits this and informs the players that based on their final points score, Shiki has earned the right to life again. He tells Neku his remaining options are re-enter the game as a player, join the Reapers like Beat, or accept erasure. As Neku reassures Shiki, she tells him she'll wait in front of the Hachiko statue every day until he comes back, and he promises her he'll see her soon. Shiki quickly vanishes away after their goodbye, and determined, Neku is ready to start a new game. Kitaniji tells him that for winning, he still gets his entry fee back, and suddenly Neku is flooded with a rush of all of his memories all at once. However, he notices a gap is missing from how he died in Utagawa, and Kitaniji promises he returned everything that was wagered, mentioning that any lost memory must have happened before he played the game. Now, to play again, he has to offer that which he holds most dear, and as such, has already collected Shiki. Now waking up the next day, he is again in the Shibuya crosswalk, but now with a greater goal on the line. Getting straight to business, he is determined to win as he finds the mission carries a different format and tone. Wondering if there is a new game master, he first thinks to find a strong partner as soon as possible. Koki and Uzuki notes how strange they are working 2 weeks in a row when they get even stranger orders to just stand by today. With Neku, he actively searches for another player, but is surprised the strange boy makes a pact with him without his knowing first, as they survive their first battle together. Afterwards, the boy introduces himself as Joshua, and mentions he has observed Neku's strength and wanted to partner with him for this game, but both that statement and Joshua himself puts Neku on edge. Neku tries scanning Joshua and finds he cannot read his thoughts and instead gets a vision of another part of the city. However, something is off because he should not have been able to scan Joshua at all if he's a normal player. Joshua tells him the answer to the mission riddle, promising Neku his advice is spot on, as they easily complete the first day's mission at the 10-4 building. Joshua directs Neku's attention to a tall junk heap that wasn't there before as the Reaper Show introduces himself, unimpressed at their Zeta slowness as the new Game Master. He's surprised to see Joshua specifically, confirming to Neku that there is something shady about Joshua, though admits he still needs to work together this week in order to win. The next day, Neku spots Joshua on his phone talking and finds that awfully suspicious since the player's phones cannot be used conventionally that way. Overhearing part of the conversation, he wonders if he's talking to the Reapers and scans Joshua again, only to see the same vision as before, only this time he sees his dead body in Utagawa and a player pin thrown on him. He wonders if this means Joshua witnessed Neku's death or perhaps caused it himself, and decides to play it cool and wait before confronting the question directly. As they get to the next mission, Joshua suggests they ignore it entirely, letting someone else handle it while they go visit a spot he had in mind. Neku rejects the idea, not wanting to take the chance with both Shiki and himself on the line, and Joshua mocks him, pointing out literally every player has stakes on something they valued, so Neku isn't special. Undeterred, Neku insists they finish the mission themselves, and Joshua begrudgingly allows it, annoying a confused Neku. As Joshua keeps his hands in his pocket, a new timer appears on Neku's hand, and with his memories back, Neku shows he is quite proficient in chemistry and mathematics, trying to solve the next riddle of a mission. However, Joshua sarcastically humors him before revealing insider information on the system Reapers use to chart out Shibuya, and reveals the answer outright. To himself, Neku sees Joshua as a growing threat and reminds himself to keep his guard up, while at the same time, Koki and Uzuki are running for their lives from a strange new noise that is also targeting Reapers and also giving Neku and Joshua trouble. To clear the mission, they must win a 10-pin slammer tournament, and an enthusiastic boy named Shuto welcomes Neku to the jam while teaching him how to slam with illustrated instructions. As it turns out, another player pair wins the tournament by a fluke, clearing it for everyone, and Joshua repeats that it's fine to let others clear missions as long as you do whatever it takes to win. He adds the fluke win was not so much an accident as it was a little of his own meddling, pointing out they didn't have to win, they just had to not lose. The next day, Neku finds Joshua's on the phone again, but this time for even longer, and once again insists Neku follow him to someplace particular. Neku again wants to do the mission first, and he suddenly gets a text to hurry to Cat Street in a very short amount of time. When he arrives, Neku realizes he never actually got a mission or timer for it. Confused, he is directed to a cafe by Joshua who says he is the one who lied to get him to come here, and since there is no mission yet, there is no harm, no foul. Joshua actually guides him to Hanakoma's cafe, who not only knows Joshua but is also surprised to see Neku is playing the game again. Hanakoma was also the person Joshua has been talking on the phone to as he takes their phones for some special upgrading. When they get their phones back with a new tracking app, Joshua declares it's time to start hunting, while Neku speaks to Hanakoma. He says he's known Joshua for a while and mentions Joshua has always been special, being able to witness the game, players, and Reapers even while he was still alive. He admits he can have a bit of an attitude, but vouches that he's not a bad kid. Until the daily mission arrives, Hanakoma tells him to enjoy every moment with all you've got, and Neku is surprised to hear the same motto as the one person he respects. Hanakoma elaborates that the world ends with you, so if you want to enjoy life, you need to expand your world and push your horizons. As Neku and Joshua leave to track signals, they are intercepted by Beat, bearing new wings to prove he is a Reaper, alongside a noise companion. He declares he's here to fight Neku, and after a short skirmish, Beat sees he is so much stronger than Neku that he loses interest and lets him go. They even run into Koki and Uzuki, who didn't expect to see anyone play the game twice, and tells him they've been told not to hunt players right now from the Game Master himself, so they're just killing time. Their search leads them to a massive line for a ramen shop, and Joshua thinks the pin might be the source of the energy spike on their tracker now. Clearing up the noise around the ramen wars, they hear Kat is the one who designed the pins, who was a mega designer with a life philosophy of personal freedom that Neku deeply admires. As the day ends with no mission, Joshua finds the signal they were tracking and suggests they try again later, as he's after whatever the tracker is tracking, claiming not to know what that is. The next day, Joshua bickers again with Neku to track down the signals over the mission, as Kitsuniji receives a report that no mission has been issued for 2 days, yet players have been dropping faster than normal, and even Sho himself has gone missing despite more of his junk heaps appearing around the underground. Konishi also reports multiple Reapers attacked by taboo noise, and has issued an investigation to see not only who is behind it, but also if there is a connection to the players dropping. Back with Neku, he pressures Joshua to reveal his true goal, and Joshua replies it is to take over Shibuya, and needs to find the Shibuya River to do so, which Neku has never heard of. They get a new signal coming from Utagawa, and Neku was suddenly interested in checking it out too, eager to look into the scene of his death. Along the way, they run into the singer 777, who is actually a Reaper, and other players who have noticed that despite no missions for 2 days, players are still getting wiped out. Joshua also reveals the second upgrade Hanakuma made to his phone, a camera that can take pictures of the past. He then mentions how only the composer creates the player pins they all have on them, and when Neku realizes they are identical to the pins the designer Cat made, he naturally wonders if Cat is the composer. Interrupting them, Beat passes by to harass Neku some more, but accidentally drops Rhyme's keepsake pendant when leaving. Arriving at Utagawa, Joshua mentions the underground is split into different areas, and while Shibuya is only one of them, you cannot travel between them, and each one has its own rules. This isolated, self-indulgent living is like how Neku used to like it, but ever since he started listening to other people's thoughts and feelings, he has thought more about looking farther than his own world instead of just writing off other people's values as inferior. Finding the source of their signal to be Sho himself, they spy him drawing some sort of elaborate symbol on the ground. Wondering what it could mean, Neku notes Joshua deliberately investigating the spot where Neku died. As it turns out, Uzuki and Koki are also tailing Sho to find out what he's working on. Koki thinks to report their findings, recognizing Sho's effort as a taboo noise refinery sigil, and believes him to be the cause of the illegal noise. Meanwhile, Neku mentions this is his favorite spot in Shibuya, as this mural wall is all Cat's work, while scanning Joshua. He immediately sees a memory from when he was alive and admiring the wall when Joshua came bolting down the street gun in hand when a gunshot went off. Sensing the memories are real, Neku now thinks it was Joshua who killed him as his mind races with questions. The next day, Neku decides not to confront Joshua on his murder since there are only a few more days left in the game, and instead asks more about his goal to control Shibuya. Joshua reveals he wants to find the current composer first, who is said to be at the Shibuya River, and is likely why Sho is after them. They get their phones adjusted again by Hanakoma, who leaves afterwards for an unknown errand, when they are approached again by Beat, but this time Koki and Uzuki interrupt to remind Beat Reapers are to leave the players alone. Beat says he's on a special mission directly from the conductor himself, and once more beats down Neku until Neku shows him Rhyme's pendant he dropped. He returns it, and Beat decides to leave him alone for now. Joshua notes all of Cat's art and wonders why he even bothers with a cafe, and Neku is surprised to hear his idol has a cafe. Laughing, Joshua points out they were just there, on Cat Street, as it dawns on Neku that Hanakoma is Cat, and Joshua confirms it, surprised Neku never knew. Neku is ecstatic to hear this, and also thinks that this means Hanakoma cannot be the composer after all. With their improved trackers, they find what they think to be the river at the station underpass, but find their path blocked by a powerful seal. They are suddenly attacked by a powerful taboo noise, and pushed to their limit, Joshua has no choice but to unleash a powerful attack that demolishes the monster. Neku was awed at where this sudden show of power came from, and Koki applauds, having been spying on Joshua for a while, and calls him out on actually being alive this whole time. The energy output of that attack is beyond anything a player can do, and reminds him the living are not allowed to play the game. He says he should erase Joshua now, but seeing as how he took care of a taboo noise that was troublesome to the Reapers, he'll look the other way for now. To Neku, Joshua explains he snuck into the game through a loophole and is why he doesn't have a player pin. Hearing enough, Neku angrily states he knows Joshua killed him, and Joshua nonchalantly waves it away by saying it doesn't change anything. The next day, Neku's anger at Joshua rises to new heights when they are interrupted by the first new mission in a while. The streets are full of stronger taboo noise, and they defy the normal ones that either rise from the negative emotions of people, or the ones Reaper make personally, seeing as they also attack Reapers and players without provocation. More players are quickly dropping too, as Neku finds caring more about those around him, and sees it's up to them to finish the mission. They even rescue Koki and Uzuki along the way as they complete the mission, and at the same time, Kitsuniji is informed of Sho's rogue actions and allows Konishi to deal with the illegal player Joshua. As the 7th day arrives, the mission to confront the Game Master arrives, though the mission is presented in a surprisingly plainer way than normal. They locate Sho, who says he never sent the mission mail out and suspects meddling, and Neku gets a splitting headache as a memory returns to him. He recalls the day of his death, in which Joshua was actually chasing down Sho and shot past Neku towards him. Sho raised his own gun and fired back, catching Neku in the middle and killing him. Calling out Sho, Sho ignores Neku, instead unleashing his powers and summoning waves of taboo noise. Neku works together with Joshua to overcome Show's level imaginary Zeta Flare, but Joshua pushes him aside to take the hit, reminding Neku he needs to survive and not give up. As Joshua disappears in the energy of Show's attack, the next thing Neku knows, he's before Konishi again, who congratulates him on winning yet again, and reveals he is the one who issued the last mission to get rid of Show. He confirms Joshua died protecting him, and Neku regrets wrongfully blaming him for his death without apologizing. Regardless, Konishi informs Neku he will be punished for assisting an illegal player for playing the game, and while this normally means erasure, the composer decided to pay Neku back for the favor of ending Show by allowing him to enter one final game with a penalty. And by allow, they mean Neku cannot refuse, the last game doesn't count, and his entry fee carries over. As for the penalty, Neku will not be allowed to participate in any games after this next one ever again, and he still needs to pay a fee to enter. He says Neku's fee has already been collected, and the next thing he knows, Neku wakes up the next day in the middle of a shibuya scramble, still in the game as another week arrives. Reflecting on how he's the last player remaining from the people he knew, a new mission begins with yet another person acting as game master, and he hurries to find a partner, still determined to win for the sake of those who have fallen along the way. To the side, Koki and Uzuki discuss how Konishi is the new game master, how her plans toe the line of the rules, and how there has never been 3 games back to back before. With Neku, as he fails to find any other players, he gets a message informing him he is actually the only player in the game this week. Thinking back, he recalls what Konishi said, and as Neku has started to care about all the players around him, he realizes every other player became the entry fee. As noise began to encroach on him, Neku acknowledges this entire game was rigged from the start, as even Koki and Uzuki arrive just to watch him helplessly fail. Just then, Beat arrives, annoyed at how dirty this game is and how dishonorable the Reapers are, opting to make a pact with Neku to fight against the injustice. They beat the noise and retreat for now, as the Reapers report Beat's betrayal, and Beat replies he's paying Neku back for returning Rhyme's pendant to him. Beat takes Neku to the station underpass, and Beat is surprised he cannot bypass the seal with the key pin he kept from when he was a Reaper that allowed him to unlock other sealed walls. Neku suggests he may need a different key for this wall, and after they clear the daily mission, Beat declares his intent to become the new composer himself. Elsewhere, Konishi reports Beat's actions to Konishi, who speaks with the composer and strips him of his Reaper rank, declaring he is to be erased as a player for this game like Neku. He also orders all Reapers to wear outlet pins that enhance their powers with some notable side effects, and places the whole underground on emergency call. Konishi complies, but suspects there is a reason she is not being told for all of these extreme measures. The next day, Konishi visits Beat and Neku personally, introducing herself, notifying Beat of his expulsion, and revealing that even as a Reaper, he refused to erase any players. Because of this, and the fact that Reapers' points extend their lifetime, this means Beat now only has 5 more days to live, including today. In addition, for becoming a player, she claims his entry fee, which is the single little noise he summoned as a Reaper, killing it and returning it to its pin form. She tells them their mission now, which is to find and defeat her sometime in the next 6 days, during which she will hide in just one spot somewhere in Shibuya until then. As she leaves, Beat makes her the new priority, as becoming the composer means nothing without the pin she took. As they look for her, they learn the emergency state of the underground also means all Reapers are to eliminate the threat, so in this case, that means anyone's allowed to directly attack Neku and Beat at any time. As a result, even former friendlies like 777 are eager to collect a bounty on their heads, as the duo is forced to defeat him but choose to spare his life. As thanks, 777 gives them a stronger key pin, though Konishi kills him for failing her. As the next day starts, both boys are sent back to the starting scramble, where they are met by Uzuki, who has Beat's pin and says Konishi made her a substitute GM for the day. As the day continues, Beat blames himself for being a bad brother to Rhyme, and Neku is shocked to learn they were siblings, and admits he became a Reaper because he thought it could bring her back. When she was erased, Hanakoma gathered up her soul and stored it in the pin, and Beat stayed alive by forming a pact with the pin. He asked the Reapers how to use their noise pins, and as a result the little noise on his shoulder until now was Rhyme. He learned that whoever takes out the composer becomes the new one, and figured with that power he could bring Rhyme back to life. They catch up to Uzuki, who challenges them to battle and loses, upset at losing her chance at a promotion. Koki, who has refused promotion before, reminds her to calm down and stop and smell the roses, which is a luxury she'll lose if she's too hasty chasing titles she doesn't really want. Koki congratulates the two on their victory, handing them a level 3 key pin, but holds on to Rhyme's pin until they defeat him next. The next day, they wake up to find the key pin they got is suddenly missing, and find a strange box with a button instead. They get a mission stating the key is inside the box and begin solving the riddles to unlock it and similar ones, passing by the memorial site where Beat and Rhyme died in the real world. Beat had an argument with his parents and stormed out, and Ryan chased after him only to step in front of incoming traffic, and Beat died trying to save both of them and failing. Since then, he blamed himself for getting her killed in the first place and again in this game. Worse yet, when they started the game, she lost her memory so she didn't know Beat was her brother and related to her death. They find Koki and he duels with them without putting too much effort in, but Uzuki refuses to allow him to slack off, prompting a 2v2 battle, and the teamwork of the players still wins against the Reaper pair. Satisfied, Koki gives them a pass and gives them back Rhyme's pin. However, Beat discovers his pin is a forgery, and Koki is surprised to learn Konishi lied to both Reapers too. Koki bears no ill will against the pair, and as an apology for being duped himself, he gives them a level 4 key pin, claiming it can unlock anything in the underground. Beat thanks them and warns them to watch their backs, as the last Reaper to help them was killed by likely Konishi herself. As they part ways, Uzuki reflects that there needs to be changes to how the underground is being run, least of all Reapers being used as disposable tools. Koki also points out Shibuya itself is somehow homogenizing and being much more quiet, and is no longer a loud mess of thoughts. However, both of them suddenly keel over in pain as a surviving Sho steps out from the side in a new body and eager for revenge. The next day, they continue their search, finding even the Wall Reapers are now coming after them directly while spouting the same bizarre cryptic message. What more, even the people of the real world are being hypnotized by the same message, and as they continue their search for Konishi, Beat talks more about what's driving him. Rejecting his parents' expectations on him, he simply gave up on himself with no dream, and his parents did too, but not Ryan. Neku said Ryan told him Beat has a dream of being a pro skater, but he mentions that was a lie to inspire Ryan to live for something herself, as before she lost her memories, she had big dreams and aspirations motivating her. Neku tells him not to be chained down by regret and recognize the reason Rhyme always supported him, and for one, cannot think of anyone else tough enough to backstab the Reapers and support an underdog with such determination like him. Looking around, they notice almost everyone not only sporting the popular Red Skull player pin, but also their thoughts strangely quiet and focused, so much so they are all somehow all thinking the exact same thing like they are brainwashed. Exploring more, they find the old noise sigil Sho was using, but it now appears scorched for some reason. Thinking to take a picture of the past, Neku finds that 4 days ago, Hanakoma came and tampered with the sigil somehow. Thinking to ask him directly, they head out, they'll run into Koki and Uzuki, somehow possessed like every other Reaper in town. Defeating them, Neku moves to finish them but is halted by Beat, who feels they are just victims here like everyone else and can be saved. Neku notices they both have red skull pins like the other victims, and Beat wonders if these were the outlet pins Reapers were supposed to wear this week. As the next day comes, Beat starts to panic as today is supposedly his last day before running out of life, and so they hurry to Cat Street, passing by more and more people they know all under the same spell, just standing in the middle of the street frozen. Getting close to Cat Street, they see the wall there has been smashed open by someone, and Hanakoma's cafe similarly destroyed. Using the camera to take a picture of the past, they spot Hanakoma hiding something and discover a gold key pin in the same location. With the only place in Shibuya they haven't checked being the Shibuya River, they believe that to be where Konishi is hiding all this time. On the way there, they are shocked to not only see one of Sho's infamous junk heaps, but Sho himself, still alive and with a powerful part taboo noise body. He declares he intends to challenge the composer and was the one who tore up the cafe, testing his new body on the duo before leaving. As the final day arrives, Beat sees he is starting to fade away as they hurry to the Shibuya River only to see Sho has torn down the wall there without even needing a gold key pin. As they venture in, they get a message telling them of the deadly illusions Konishi employs and how to beat them using taboo noise. They run into Sho, who is blocked by a wall Konishi put up, and they ask where she is. He laughs and mocks them for not noticing that Konishi has indeed been in one place the entire game, hiding in plain sight right behind them in their own shadows. She reveals herself, surprised to see Sho, but does not lose her cool, instead making a deal that if she drops her barrier and Sho becomes the composer, then he makes her the conductor. She has lost faith in Kitsuniji running things for the betterment of Shibuya, and Sho takes the deal while Konishi taunts the group with the real pin of Rhyme. As the Game Master bears down on the final two players, Konishi tips the scales by creating shadow copies of herself, but somehow, Neku was able to access and use Rhyme's pin to summon her noise to dispel the darkness and defeat Konishi together. Konishi returns Rhyme's pin but points out even if they bring her back, she won't be complete, as Beat's original entry fee was Rhyme's memories of him, and her own fee was something else. With no time to waste pondering this, they push ahead to the composer's room, but Neku hears someone behind them and is shocked to see that it's Shiki. She explains she just woke up here, wondering why she didn't come back to life, and Neku explains it's because they made her his entry fee. Realizing this means she is the thing most dear to Neku, she's taken aback, but also thinks this means Neku won the game after all. Despite not being awarded life again, they move to take back their lives together, coming across the defeated Sho, crushed under wreckage as they steal his cap. Opening the door to the composer's place, they find a surprisingly upscale room within, and Kitaniji welcoming them and explaining the game is over and they are already dead. He speaks of the composer's plan to rebuild Shibuya, as suddenly Shiki falls under the influence of the red skull pin too. They duel Kitaniji, proving mightier than the conductor expected as he escapes, but Shiki then attacks Neku. Beat shields Neku from the blow, dropping from the attack as Neku breaks the pin on Shiki, knocking her out of her mind control. With both allies unconscious, Neku moves forward alone, only to see an empty room before him. He calls out to Hanakoma, but Kitaniji appears before him, revealing that Hanakoma is not the conductor, and there hasn't been one since before Neku even first played the game. As it turns out, Kitaniji has been calling the shots and has been working to remove everyone's selfish and negative emotions by wiping out their individuality and forming a like-minded paradise. He's been the one spreading the red skull pins, which performs its own imprinting on anyone without a black player pin, while pointing out Neku can appreciate a quieter Shibuya. Neku admits at one point he hated the noise and conflicts of others in this town, and it would be easier in Kitaniji's world, but it also wouldn't be Shibuya, and running up and down this town clashing with others, he has expanded his world and grown to like it as it used to be. Displeased to hear this, he freezes Neku, rips off his player pin and puts a red one on, but both are surprised to see nothing happen. Kitaniji suspects more meddling, and just in time Shiki and Beat recover and catch up as Kitaniji reveals his true draconic noise form. Neku and Shiki team up once again to defeat the final noise standing in between them and living again, but as Kitaniji staggers back from his loss, Joshua somehow enters the scene alive after all. What more, Kitaniji speaks to Joshua with a respectful and submissive tone and tries to seize him for integration, declaring he will protect Shibuya while also seizing both Beat and Shiki as he ascends to a new multi-headed dragon form. Despite this, the bonds between Neku and his friends are stronger than ever as they edge out a win against the desperate conductor, demolishing him and freeing all 4 players. As Kitaniji laments he's out of time, he reveals he too has a timer on his hand and explains that previously, the composer assigned him to end Shibuya, seeing no more value in it, though Kitaniji loved and defended it. The composer replied Shibuya's influence has grown too strong and now threatens to taint other grounds and needs to be shut down now. Kitaniji then suggested that if the problem was the people, then if he changed that, then perhaps it could be spared, and the composer put them both as stakes in a game. If Kitaniji can fix the problematic nature of Shibuya's people in time, then it would be spared, otherwise both Kitaniji and Shibuya would be erased. To make things fair, the composer would step away into the real world in disguise as an observer and pick a player proxy to represent him. Agreeing, Kitaniji paid an entry fee and was given 30 days to complete his mission. Now, having failed, Joshua, the hidden form of the composer, still thanks him for his valiant effort and entertaining game, and with no hard feelings, Kitaniji thanks him for the opportunity and is promptly erased. To Neku, he spells it out directly that he is the composer, and Neku was just a pawn in this game to determine Shibuya's fate, who just wanted for his side. Sho tried to kill Joshua in the real world thinking it would allow him to become composer, but he miscalculated as Joshua could still use some of his powers in the real world unlike Reapers. Joshua kept Sho around because he made things interesting, but had to put him down when he stepped out of line. In addition, he's been holding on to the rest of Neku's memories and returns them, as when Neku suddenly relives them, he sees when Sho fired back at Joshua, Joshua easily stopped all of the bullets, and in turn shot and killed Neku as intended, turning him into his chosen proxy. Chuckling at Neku's mix of outrage and betrayed emotions, Joshua offers him one last game to determine who gets to be the composer, a simple duel with pistols, and winner gets to be composer and choose the fate for Shibuya. Trembling that it's all come down to this, tears fall from Neku's face during the duel as he refuses to play, lowering his aim as Joshua smirks and takes the shot. The next thing he knows, Neku wakes up in the middle of the scramble once again, but this time in the real world confused at what happened. As another week passes, Neku reflects that it'll take time for him to forgive Joshua even though the town has not been erased, as over the last few weeks he learned the hard way how to trust and cope with having trust broken. As promised, he visits the Hachiko statue and meets Beat and Rhyme there, alive and happy, and finally reunited with Shiki in her true form. His world and heart grown larger by the recent events, Neku takes off his headphones as he truly embraces the idea that the world begins with you. To the side, it turns out Hanakoma has been authoring daily secret reports on not only Joshua and Neku, but on the entire game as the producer, a being from a higher plane of existence that can visit any lower planes. His observing role was to always remain a secret to all but the composer, who in turn is to continue their role in judging the worth of men and utilizing Reapers to weed out those unfit to continue existing. Both Reapers and players have their souls refined in imaginary combat, as souls continue to be a subject of research alongside life and death. In addition, even when erased, souls of Reapers or players persist, and may be gathered and reconstructed based on a code that is essentially imagination, and so the new form may be anything from a new pin or another Reaper, or even more noise or a human. Each of the parallel planes, like the environments of the real ground, underground, and noise ground, are so close to each other in frequency that it's possible to interact with multiple planes in different ways. As such, humans in the underground are not truly dead, just that their souls are recoded to vibe with the frequency of the underground. Hanakoma himself is one of many angels, and during the game learned that a fallen angel, an angel that has committed a crime, had taught Sho how to refine taboo noise, though did not discover who. As Cat, Hanakoma reveals his art actually accomplished mass imprinting, with two commands. The first was to enjoy the World War, which would enrich imagination, and the second was to gather, allowing those with strong imagination in Shibuya to accumulate. Furthermore, the conductor asked Hanakoma to make the Red Skull pins, which would imprint anyone who wore it with the conductor's will. Otherwise, the point of the entry fee was not to cause players anguish, but to allow the players the opportunity to think about the thing they lost and reconsider how important it really is in their life, and perhaps gain new insight on themselves. In other words, it is a test from the composer for players to reach self-enlightenment. Hanakoma otherwise had no faith in the conductor's plan to save Shibuya, as killing imagination and individuality would not bring connection, as differences are not to be denied, but accepted and enjoyed. Imagination is powerful, and is what fuels travel between parallel worlds, each of which is composed of decisions people made within them and other worlds that result from the decisions not made. All angels can change their vibe to match another world, but too much stress may prevent travel for some. Even though the composer has defeated both the conductor and his proxy Neku, he has had his heart moved and does not wish for Shibuya's destruction. Shibuya itself has changed, shifting into the optimal parallel world, and one the composer and angels are all pleased with. Unknown to this Hanakoma though is that while Joshua was faking his death, he was actually hiding in another parallel Shibuya playing Tin Pin Slammer. It was from that Shibuya, the Hanakoma of that world illegally crossed over and taught Sho how to not only refine taboo noise, but also brought him back from the dead. Though he knew such actions would brand him a fallen angel, he felt it necessary to take steps to ensure such a unique Shibuya was not erased. However, as a new day begins, Neku has a vision of a giant red skull erasing everything underneath it, and waking up finds himself not only back in the scramble, but back in the game somehow. Beat is there, similarly confused and alarmed that Rhyme is gone too. They get a mission stating they are now in the Reaper's game Expert Mode and have 24 hours to get out of Shibuya. They are then greeted by a bubbly girl in pink, introducing herself as Coco the Reaper, who claims to know them already, yet doesn't know what is going on either. Neku doesn't trust Coco for a moment, though agrees to let her tag along if for no other reason than to keep an eye on her, as Beat and Neku form a new pact and decide to head to 10-4 to look for clues. Strangely, as they walk around, they realize buildings and locations are not where they are supposed to be, and things generally seem off. Neku gets another strange vision this time of a girl with a stuffed animal and headphones, but has no idea who she is. Still, the stuffed animal reminds him of Shiki, and he wonders if she's back in the game. Beat wonders the same about Rhyme, and not long after they actually spot both Shiki and Rhyme, though Shiki is back to looking like Eri again. He asks her why and finds her response and evasion awfully suspicious. Even Rhyme is acting strangely distant to her brother Beat, and the way she's talking raises a suspicious flag for him too. As the girls leave on their own for a while, the boys soon run into Koki and Uzuki, who have swapped personalities and don't recognize the pair, yet Coco adds this is how they've always been. Neku now thinks of Joshua as someone who would definitely know what's going on, but he then gets another vision of being shot by him. While that did happen, Neku still feels something is off, mentioning he thinks the town he saw was the nearby Shinjuku. As they locate Joshua, the boy they find is a timid normal boy, who insists his name is Yashia, and despite being able to see them, is unable to answer their questions and directs them to Hanakoma. He calls him, and Hanakoma not only recognizes the boys, but knows their mission, but doesn't have a conclusive answer to what's going on yet. He invites them to talk in person, but then Neku gets another vision, this time of Rhyme getting erased, alongside a message pleading for help. On the phone, Hanakoma doesn't think this game even has a game master, and also has never heard of Joshua, only Yashiya. He also suggests the visions Neku has been seeing may be something someone is trying to show him. They encounter the girls again, and once again, Rhyme shoves Beat aside to save him from a shark that rises up and kills her just like Neku saw. Worse yet, Shiki only had 7 minutes to live after her partner died, so she ends up being erased too. Wondering if his visions are of things to come, Neku wonders if that means Joshua will kill him again. Making it to Hanakoma, he reveals to them that this shibuya is actually a noise made by an exceptionally powerful Reaper. He turns to look directly at Coco, and catching on, Neku and Beat realize everything they've seen has just been her illusion. Coco drops the act, noting that she knew something was wrong with Hanakoma when he wasn't acting like how she wanted to, suspecting the real him was interfering from the outside. He asks where the exit she wanted them to find led to, but she refuses to answer, instead dragging them all back to the real world where she has somehow brought a powerful noise. Not worried, Hanakoma leaves them to clean up the noise and return things to normal, and Neku and Beat throw themselves at the titanic noise. Destroying it, they find themselves back in normal reality, and Neku gets a call from the real Shiki, who sensed something terrible happening. He reassures her he's fine, and they even arrange a shopping date later. Beat then quickly calls his sister and is relieved to hear her voice again, confirming this is the real ground. Wondering what to do with Coco now, they are too slow to react to Coco quickly pulling out a gun and fatally shooting Neku before Joshua comes dashing in to shoot at her while she flees. Strangely, Neku's body simply vanishes, and above Shinjuku, a red skull appears before the entire district is erased. Like in Neku's vision, a mysterious girl with a plush toy and headphones walks forward in a daze, and to the side, Hanakoma and Joshua comment on the occurrence of an inversion event. Hanakoma mentions how odd it was that noise even appeared in the real ground at all, and Joshua wonders if Neku synced up with the strange girl giving him visions, who also avoided being erased with the rest of Shinjuku. Finally, with the arrival of the powerful Reaper Coco, Joshua feels something big is about to happen to their crazy, noisy, bizarre district, but one thing is for sure is that Neku's death isn't such a loss since he's already served his purpose. As the game concludes, Hanakoma notes in his report that Coco constructed a pseudo-parallel world made by breaking down and rebinding the soul energy from various noise. Albeit fragile, such a construct required enormous amounts of imagination, and he suspects Coco may have gotten a helping hand from someone. Either way, between Neku's strange visions and sudden death, the inversion event, and Coco's actions, there is a lot he needs to look into. On her own, Coco comments how the game cannot go on without Neku, as she needs him and he'll need a strong partner for the battles ahead. Using a refined taboo noise sigil, Coco resurrects Sho as she prepares for the beginning of a new game. The World Ends With You has enjoyed the success of selling over 1 million copies worldwide.